ComicLink has a massive auction going on right now. It's one of their big quarterly auctions, which has a lot of big books. Today, we're talking about Session 1 results. The rest of the auction is still ongoing, but just in Session 1 alone, we have over $3 million in comic book sales to talk about. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's start by looking at just the top results in the auction so far. So this is sorted from highest price to lowest, and we've got 9 pages of finished auctions here in the Session 1 ComicLink results. The top listing here was a Superman #1, selling for $370,000. We've got Detective Comics 33 with a big pedigree book here and a 7.0. This is the Rockford pedigree. I've actually seen a lot of Rockford pedigree books, both on this ComicLink auction and some recent Heritage auctions. So there must have been somebody who purchased a lot of those Rockford pedigrees in the past who's now making those sales in the market, I'm guessing from a single buyer. This third sale was a crazy one. So this is a 9.8 Incredible Hulk 181, selling for $125,000. So we'll talk about that sale more later when we look at the top sales from the auction, but that was a unbelievable number for that book. Next was a 9.8 for Ninja Turtles #1. That was a pretty low number. Again, we'll talk about that one a little bit later. A lot of 9.8s here of big books. So Fantastic Four, number 48 and a 9.8, a good mid-grade, Amazing Fantasy 15 also near the top of the sales here in this auction. We're pretty far down the list here and we're still getting $30,000, $40,000 sales of these books. A 9.8 of Strange Tales 111, $36,000. So a lot of big books in this auction. This is a pretty cool one too. The Marvel Spotlight #2 and a 9.8. Not a lot of copies in a 9.8 for this book, selling for $34,500. So those were some of the big books, at the top of the list. But what are the overall results in this auction? We had $3.5 million in sales of just 412 listings. I'm looking at results from 409 of those 412 books in my data set here and the analysis that I'm doing. There were 2 books that were not sold. Maybe they were withdrawn from the auction, I'm not sure. And there was one listing that was like a newspaper insert, so not a comic book, which is why I don't include it in my analysis here. And of those 409 books, 171 of those listings I was able to find comps for, so I have data on comparisons to most recent sales for 171 of the 409 books. The average result of those 171 listings was a minus 5.56% price decrease. So that's compared to a recent sale within the last 12 months for the same book and the same grade, a little over 5% drop in price, which is pretty significant. And these are big books, so this top end of the market showing some weakness in this auction. Overall, showing 41 sales with a greater than 20% increase compared to most recent sale, and 36 books with a minus 20% decrease from the most recent sale. So that's a lot of variation from sale to sale. One thing to note here, with ComicLink, they don't make it clear in their listings if a book is restored or qualified or other designators like that. So sometimes the comparisons are more difficult because comparing restored books to unrestored books is not really a valid comparison, but it's harder to distinguish between the two here with ComicLink because they don't make it clear in their listings. Obviously, if you look at the photos, you can tell, but just from the text description of the listing itself, it's hard to distinguish. In the overall statistics of this auction, a lot of Silver Age and Golden Age sales. Predominantly, there were a good number of Bronze Age sales as well, with very few modern sales. The modern books don't usually make it into the tier of listing that ComicLink includes in these featured auctions. So we have a few here, but not a significant percentage. The highest sale on average was actually in the Silver Age, so $4,824 per sale for 152 sales in the auction overall. Just goes to show you, how big the books here that are listed in the ComicLink auction. Here we're looking at the comparisons to recent sales. So 171 of these listings, I was able to find pricing data within the last 12 months to compare the auction results. And most of the books landed below the recent price trends. So overall, a minus 5.56% decrease in comparison to recent sales. And you can see that most of the big books here above, say, $10,000, the auction result from this ComicLink auction landed below the most recent price, which would be that dashed line. And one last look at the auction catalog overall. So this is the value of all the books in the auction over time. This is only including the books where I could find price history that went back somewhere in the last 5 years. So it's not the entire catalog, but for the ones that I did find comparison and pricing data for over the past 5 years, you can see that the price history peaked in April of 2022. That's typical of the cycles that I've seen doing similar analysis on other auctions. Somewhere around April is where it looks like the market peaked, and the values have been continuing to decline since then. The downtrend has been slower over the past, say, year, but we're still making new lows as the market corrects. In this case, this auction catalog's value is still significantly higher than the start of 2020. If we look back in the late 2019, early 2020 period, compared to now, there's still about a 30-35% increase in value. So that is good to see that it's holding above those key levels. We've seen other books and other auctions where the values have corrected all the way back to 2019 levels. So this auction catalog still seems a little bit stronger, maybe because the books are more at the high end of the market. Here we're highlighting all of the top sales in each age of the comic book market. So a lot of big sales here in all ages. TMNT number 1, top of the list on the modern books, both in a 9.8 and a 9.6. There was an Amazing Spider-Man 300 in a newsstand 9.8 selling for just under $8,000. One thing you'll notice about a lot of these books, if you see the asterisk and the notes at the bottom, a lot of these books have CVA stickers. So that may not mean anything to you. I'm going to talk about CVA stickers a little bit more in the video, but just interesting to note here that there are a lot of CVA stickers in these auctions. When we went and looked at the top sales in the auctions overall, I think the top 5 listings all had CVA stickers. In fact, let's go ahead and just look at that again right now. If we go back to the top of this list, the Superman had a CVA, Detective Comics, CVA, Incredible Hulk, CVA sticker, CVA on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Fantastic Four. So all 5 of those top listings had a CVA sticker in this auction. I'm not going to go through all of the top sales here one by one, but just to capture them in one chart here and as a brief summary. I do want to highlight a few of them though, so let's go ahead and do that now. As I mentioned, a lot of these books had CVA stickers on them. So what is a CVA sticker? You may not be familiar. Is it something that is important? Is it something we need to care about? Well, I haven't gone to their website before, so I'm just kind of doing that research right now. But looking at the CVA Comics website, their goal is to identify books that present higher than the grade that they're given by CGC. It's not a goal of CVA to regrade the book or provide a second evaluation of the grade of the book, but based on the grade that it was given by CGC, CVA will denote books that have a outstanding eye appeal, because some books have the same grade. A 5.0 can have certain defects that detract from the eye appeal more than others. So CVA is trying to distinguish what books actually look better than the grade that is given on the label. One thing I didn't realize was that CVA has 2 levels of stickers. So I've only ever seen what I guess is the silver CVA sticker. I thought it was black to me when I see the stickers on the label. They look black, but I think it's this silver CVA designation, which says it's an exceptional example for the grade. There's also apparently a gold CVA sticker, which I don't think I've ever seen in any book. It says extraordinarily exceptional for the grade. I'm not sure what that means. I haven't seen any description from CVA in terms of what they're looking for to determine eye appeal and what qualifies for the sticker that they're providing. I would like to see more information on that. But their gold stickers, they say, are very rarely will be awarded. So I can testify to that. I haven't seen any yet. The team behind CVA. Now, there does seem to be some kind of connection to ComicLink. I don't know if ComicLink owns CVA, or they just have some relationship and history with the personnel between CVA and ComicLink. Looking at the two sort of partners here, Joe Viteri is managing partner and founder of CVA. So he has a long history in the hobby as a collector and investor. He also is the co-founder and promoter of Comic Art Con, which I'm not familiar with, but it says it's an exclusive comic art convention. I did look that up, and apparently it's in New Jersey, so it's ongoing since 2009, and they do have dates for 2025 coming up in April and August, so that's a thing that's still happening if you're interested in comic book art, and some of Joe's background there. Now, he also has a background as part of the Numismatic Society. That I think is interesting because I've seen these kinds of stickers in the coin collecting world before. So there are third-party companies that will assign stickers to graded coins. So coins often get graded by PCGS or NGC. And then there are companies, especially CAC is the one that I've seen the most, CAC, and they'll provide a CAC designation on a coin that it presents well for its grade. So it's the same kind of concept as these comic book stickers. The other partner here is Thomas Erb. Thomas is the connection to ComicLink that I was referencing earlier. So Thomas was a collector and a dealer, but he also worked at ComicLink. So he was the operations manager at ComicLink and also did a lot of the grading for ComicLink internally, to help buyers and sellers and submitting books to CGC and all of that. So he has grading experience. He has employment experience with ComicLink. I don't think he's still employed by ComicLink, but it's not clear from this profile. But obviously the personnel involved with CVA has some relationship with ComicLink. And you can see that also in the CVA website. So if you go to their homepage, there's a whole link here for CVA comics in ComicLink auctions. If you go there, currently there's 2 pages of listings that have the CVA designation on the label. And the other thing with ComicLink is they make it very clear that a book has been given a CVA designation. In the text of all of these listings, it will say CVA exceptional if there is a sticker with CVA stickers on it. So all of these have it very clearly listed in the description. That's in contrast to Heritage, because I went to Heritage auctions and searched for CVA to see if they also list it in their descriptions. And there's only a few listings with CVA even mentioned in the title. So, there's one here from 2019, one here from 2018. So there's a few listings all from that time period, 2018 and 2019, but I'm sure there are more CVA stickered comics that have sold at Heritage. They just don't make mention of it in their listings. And again, I'm assuming that's because of the relationship between ComicLink and CVA, that ComicLink has agreed to recognize and describe the CVA stickers as part of the listing on the auction page. Now, whether those CVA stickers have any value is a completely different question. So that's just some background on the company and what its goals are, who's involved in the relationship with ComicLink. Now, we do have a number of listings from this auction that have the CVA stickers on them. So we'll look at a few of those today and just look at whether the prices are affected by that sticker or not. The first book here we have is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1. This was a CVA stickered book, and it sold for $64,000. So this was the top selling book in the modern age. But if you look at the price history here, that's actually a pretty low sale. So this was wasn't it a $200-something thousand book in 2021? Yeah, so it had actually multiple sales over $200,000, $245 being the peak recorded sale here. And recent sales have been, just cracking under $100,000 for the first time. So early last year were 132, 126,000, and in June we finally got a sale under 100,000. That's $87,000 in June. This is finally back to previous highs. So if look in 2019, the previous high there was 90,000, and this $87,000 sale finally got back to those old price levels. And now a $64,000 sale is well below those levels, even with that CVA sticker. So it didn't seem to make much difference there. But that was a really low sale, and actually I think a pretty good deal for that book. Maybe not like a screaming bargain, but I think it's a fair price based on the price history. Brings it basically back to 2020 levels. And I think it's no longer inflated at that price. And I don't know if I would buy it for $64,000. And maybe other things I'd rather purchase, but I think it's starting to get into the range where it's not overinflated anymore. The next price here is a bit of a different story. So this is Incredible Hulk 181 with a 9.8, also with a CVA sticker, and this sold for $125,000, which is a crazy price for this book. It has sold for that much in the past, but that was at the peak of the comic boom. The peak recorded sale was $138,000, and that was back in 2022. Now, there were times where we were watching this book sort of auction to auction, waiting for it to start correcting, and it was still realizing pretty high prices even after other books were correcting. The market kind of peaked in early 2022, around April, according to a lot of my data. But you can see the peak sale here was in September of 2022. So this book was still climbing even as the rest of the market had already started to correct. But now we can see in sales since then, this book has been on an ongoing downtrend. Recent sales here in 2024 were at $72,000, both in January and April. So it's been not quite a year, but maybe 9 months since we had a recorded 9.8 here in this Incredible Hulk 181, and a sale of $125,000 is just crazy to me in this market based on the sales history. And I don't think it's based on the CVA sticker. We just saw the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles book had a low price for that sticker. I don't know what to explain this high sale for. The book looks fine. I don't think it's, I wouldn't argue that it's not a 9.8, but I also wouldn't argue that it's an incredibly exceptional version of this book in the way that maybe someone would think that it could grade at a 9.9. That's the only way I could see this book, someone overpaying for a 9.8, is if they think they could resubmit it and get a 9.9. I just don't really see that here, but who knows the way CGC grades books these days, whether a 9.8 or a 9.9, I don't think that any of us could really tell with any certainty what the difference is. But it's a very high price paid in this auction. And the last book here with a CVA sticker that I want to look at is the X-Men 94. This was a 9.8 as well with the CVA sticker, and selling for $28,650. So comparing that to recent sales, a 9.8 in this book has sold as recently as January, just a month ago, for $40,800. So that's a big difference on the low side for this CVA stickered book. So again, $28,650. And recent sales have been for $40,000. A couple sales in 2025 near the $40,000 mark. The lowest sale in 2024 was for $27,500. Most sales in the mid to low $30,000 range. So this book basically makes a new low for recent sales, $28,650, basically equal to this 2024 low sale, around $28,000 as well. You have to go back to 2019 before you see those prices. There were no sales in 2020, but in 2019 there were some mid-teens, $14,000, $17,000 sale. So still above 2019 levels, but really a new low for the recent sales history, even with that CVA sticker. So based on these results, I don't see any influence of the CVA sticker on prices. It's just interesting to know what the CVA sticker is intending to represent, but it doesn't seem to have any effect on the market. The last sale I wanted to look at here was a Strange Tales 111. This is also in a 9.8. It doesn't have a CVA sticker, but of note, and I almost missed this at first, it's the Pacific Coast Pedigree. It has the blue label, so if you resubmit this, you can get the gold label, which would be really killer in this book. The gold labels do look really nice. And also of note with this book, it's the only 9.8 that exists. So there are no 9.8s outside of this Pedigree book. Looking at the sales history, this Strange Tales 111, there are no 9.8 sales, except for 2016. We have to go back 9 years basically to get a sale, and it was again that Pacific Coast pedigree because that's the only 9.8 there is. So 2 recorded sales, a 2012 sale of close to $10,000, then a 2016 sale of close to $20,000. So now another 9 years later, we have a $36,000 sale. Hard to say if that's a strong or weak sale based on the market. That's 9 years have passed and it's basically doubled in price. So that seems like a pretty good return to me, but not a lot of comparisons we can do on this one. Okay, and just wrapping up with a few more statistics from this auction. The number of sales by title in this auction, 76 sales for Amazing Spider-Man. Then we have 23 X-Men, 20 Batman books, 17 Fantastic Four. In the Bronze Age, there were 8 sales of X-Men at the top of the sales list, so the average sale there, $4,630. In the Silver Age, the best-selling book was Fantastic Four, with 14 sales, averaging close to $8,000 for each sale. Maybe there were a lot of high-grade Fantastic Four books in this auction because there was trying to time the Fantastic Four trailers that have been coming out and the anticipation of the movie releasing later this year. In the Golden Age, the top-selling book was Detective Comics with an average sale of close to $14,000 and 10 sales in this auction. And that's all I wanted to show for this week's auction. This quarterly auction from ComicLink is still ongoing, so I'll have more data present when session 2 ends in a few days. So look for that video next week, and I'll recap all the sales then. Until then, thank you so much for watching. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, share it with others who you think appreciate comic book related content, and I will see you again soon with more comic book related data. Thank you.